Welcome, everyone, to this celebration of our 2025 Champions of the Bay. I'm Alan Stratton, the president of the Georgian Bay Association. I would like to begin by acknowledging that the land we are meeting on is the traditional territory of many Huron, Anishinaabe, and Haudenosaunee nations, including the Mississaugas of the New Credit, the Wendat and Petun, the Seneca, and the Ojibwe, and is also now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. While this acknowledgement pertains specifically to Toronto, where the ceremony is being hosted, it's important in the context of tonight's ceremony that we also recognize all of the First Nations and Métis communities that call Georgian Bay home. I'd like to thank everyone for taking the time to come together this evening to honor our new crop of champions. While this initiative has only completed its second year, it is fast becoming a cornerstone of the GBA thanks to the dedication and enthusiastic energy of Catherine Denoon and the Champions of the Bay Committee. If last year's ceremony is a good example, we will all be enriched tonight by what we learn. Perhaps you should be prepared to be moved by the personal stories and have a box of Kleenex handy. I hope that you will not only find tonight's ceremony entertaining, but also inspiring. If there is a central theme that emerges from this group of champions, I think it will be that not only do we all share a common bond in our love for the Bay, but that no good deed is too small in our collective efforts to protect this unique and precious ecosystem. I would now like to turn it over to our esteemed Executive Director, Dr. Meredith Denning. Meredith?
Thank you, Alan. Welcome, everybody. I'm delighted to be here tonight to recognize all of the outstanding community members and their nominators who have taken part in this year's Champions of the Bay Award. And so the goal of this award is to shine a light on some of the really inspiring and creative volunteer efforts towards environmental stewardship that are happening up and down the bay. And of course, the Georgian Bay Association has 17 member associations of all shapes and sizes. But as Alan pointed out, one of the things that really knits us together is a common commitment to environmental stewardship and a certain can-do, let's see what happens attitude. And I feel like that deep commitment and that optimism and enthusiasm for our communities is one of the things that we see through the stories here tonight. One of the philosophies that I've really come to enjoy over since my teens is came out of my own summer camp experience, and we used to talk about the seeing eye and the willing hand, and it's 4 words. But if you think of them together, seeing eye and the willing hand, I feel like they really capture something of the essence of the people on these screens tonight. It's what needs to be done and who's going to do it. Well, these people are. And I also think it's so important to notice their nominators because that really speaks to the love and the mutual care and mutual support that our members have for one another. I think it's really, really neat that not only do people do beautiful things all year round, year in, year out to take care of the Bay, their neighbors and their families really appreciate it. So I hope you have a wonderful night, and over to you, Allison.
I'll go next.
Sorry,
It's
Catherine.
okay.
We're getting there.
Hi everyone. My name is Catherine Denoon. I am the chair of the Champion of the Bay Committee, or the Guardians of the Bay Committee. It's known as both these days. So I am very happy to introduce our committee members. So you just heard from Meredith Denning, our executive director. Shannon Farquharson is the wonderful person doing all the behind the scenes work tonight. She is very busy tonight, as as well as many other things in our committee as well. Seymour Hadwin was a past GBA director, and he stayed on because he really loves champions, and he is responsible for organizing the sculpture that our overall champion receives. Allison Needham is our MC tonight, so you'll be seeing a lot of her. She wears many hats at GBA. She's also the update editor. Um, Liz Phillips is one of our past presidents. She helped early on with this award and has stayed on through. And you've just heard from Alan Stratton, our president, who is another great member of our committee. So thanks to all these people, we have this wonderful award for the second year now. All right, so again, thank you all for coming. We are so excited. We've had over 100 people RSVP tonight, and that just shows how much we all care about these wonderful community members. So thank you for coming. It really makes it special tonight. So, as Meredith said, you'll be hearing from both our champions and their nominators. We really want to recognize both of these pairs, as this award wouldn't happen if people didn't take the time to recognize someone in their community. So we'll be hearing about 2 minutes from the nominators and 2 minutes from champions. It's a little short, but we have so many wonderful people we want to hear from tonight. And our nominators will be introducing the champions. And our champions, you may hear them respond to one of these three questions, or you may hear them respond to whatever they like. So that's basically how this evening is going to go. One other area of note is this year is our first year to award a person for our champion at large category. So this category is just like another association category, but it's for someone who maybe isn't in our area or isn't a part of a specific association for some reason, and yet has done amazing contributions that are really worth recognizing. So that will be later on this evening. So again, thank you all for coming, and I will pass it over to Allison now to introduce our first pair.
Hey. Um, Welcome everybody. I'm Allison, and you will be hearing from me a lot tonight as we come together to celebrate something that happens quietly on Georgian Bay. Those people who give their time, energy, and heart to protect this extraordinary place without seeking recognition or intention. And tonight we're going to flip that on its head and recognize them for all this great work they do. So I thank you again for joining us tonight to celebrate our 2025 Champions of the Bay. We're proud to share their stories and celebrate the remarkable differences they make. I'm going to start with the Bay of Islands community and Zachary Shuchuk.
Good evening, everyone. Yeah, it's quite a thing to be here tonight. Linda, the two Lindas, Linda Bartlett and Linda Montgomery, are longtime members of the Bay of Islands Association. More than 40 years for both of them, I think, if I'm correct. Certainly close to it. Both have been active on our board of directors in years past, and also with specific projects and Bay activities, things like emergency management and just general board activities. And about 28 years ago, the Lake Partner Program was looking for new volunteer to take water samples and do the Secudis measurements because they were packing up and moving to Europe. Linda Bartlett stepped up to pick up that task, and was shortly afterwards joined by Linda Montgomery. And the two of them carried that on. And in addition to that, they picked up a water testing program for E. coli in cooperation with the McGregor Bay Association and also the town of Northeast Manitoba and the islands. They carried that on, sometimes traveling several miles in rough weather to take those water samples. They tried to slide out and retire, but the new volunteers gave up after a couple of years, and Linda came back. And after a total of about 25 years, that wayward volunteer came back from Europe and has picked up the Lake Partner program. Unfortunately, the E. coli program has ended, but we're eternally grateful um, for their perseverance of over 25 years of keeping that Lake Partner program going, keeping the data stream. So we've got a pretty much unbroken um, record of water quality in the Bay of Islands, and that sort of data is priceless. And yeah, really pleased to be able to nominate these two uh, who are serious keeners in the Bay of Islands and have been for many years. Thank you.
My turn.
Hi,
Hi,
Linda.
hi, Zach. I'm Linda Montgomery, and I'm sorry to say that Linda Bartlett is not feeling well and she could not be here this evening. But I want to sing praises to her and to both of our husbands who, over the years, have endured driving us around the bay when it was rough and us leaning over the boat, collecting samples, nearly falling in the wind and everything. And I just think it's a incredible thing that we were able to do that this long. So thank you for nominating me.
My pleasure.
Congratulations. Next, we have John McMullen to introduce Ted Simmons of Bayfield Nares Islanders Association.
Good evening. Thank you, Allison, and good evening, everybody. John McMullen, past president of the Bayfield Nares Islanders Association, also two-time president of the GBA, I should add as well. And that was a pleasure doing that. Anyway, it's a distinct honor tonight to introduce my friend, Ted Simmons, fellow board member on the BNIA. He was there before I arrived. He was there long after I left. I'm reminded as I gave this thought today, it's like the Mother Superior from Sound of Music. What can we say about, what's her name? I can't remember now, but Maria. Yes, what can we say about Maria? What can we say about Ted? The the key points are in the article in the update. Um, Ted was twice president. He was also treasurer, I don't know how many times, and he probably had probably covered off a number of other files over the years. For over 20 years, Ted collected garbage and bottles and cans along 529A, the road that gives us access to both Nares and Bayfield. He was properly trained by the Ministry of Transport. And as I say, he did that for 20 years leading up to COVID. The salient point is that the revenue from the bottles and cans all went to the nursing station in Point of Barrel. So for that, we thank Ted. He also spearheaded I'll call it a derelict dock program, uh, where we went around scouting for derelict docks, but specifically those with the culprit blue styrofoam. And Ted was responsible for rounding up over 30 such docks over the course of, I think, 2 or 3 years. But the point is that really these are just a couple of the highlights. Ted is the epitome of somebody who, okay, we need this done. Who do we call? Ted. We need to get this done. Who do we call? Ted. Ted exemplifies an individual who cares for Georgian Bay, specifically for our little piece of God, Bayfield and Nares, over the years. Uh, the only thing that exceeds his humility is perhaps his height stretch. But again, it is a distinct pleasure tonight, Ted, to uh, congratulate you on being a champion of the Bay.
Thank you very much, friend John. I appreciate and am humbled by your wonderful words, as always. And I'm extremely grateful for this nomination. But then I want to deflect it because the honor doesn't go to me, it's got to go directly to the Bay. When I was a youngster, I fantasized about a search for treasure. That was always a goal and I had in mind. But then with growing maturity, I came to realize that I had a fantastic treasure with my cottage site at Bayfield Inlet. And that's part of Georgian Bay itself. So it's all a treasure. It's fantastic. And with that in mind, it became natural and easy to give time and energy to the preservation and protection of the Bay. John has mentioned my search for derelict docks, and he was part of that because Bayfield Nares has the Bayfield Inlet, which I am quite familiar with, and the Nares Inlet, which I am less familiar with. Well, John acted as my guide, and he took me around to various sites, backwaters in Nares that I would never have explored by myself. But there we managed to find some docks with the blue styrofoam, and we rescued them, dragged them out, got them to shore where they were torn apart and taken to the Site 9 for final disposal. I would never have explored the waters of Nares as thoroughly as I did with John without his help. And I'm grateful to John for that exploration. And I will continue to explore Nares, not just for dogs, but just to enjoy it. And then restoring the backwaters, the islets, the inlets to their pristine beauty was extremely gratifying to remove the garbage that we had left as human beings and return the bay to its beauty and help preserve it make me feel very, very, very happy. So this for me, and it should be for everyone, is a lifetime crusade. We can all be treasure hunters, but we all have to realize that we have a treasure on the bay, and it is up to us to pay the time and effort that the bay deserves. Meredith, in her starting remarks, mentioned dedication and optimism, and we have to have dedicated optimism to continue our crusade, and that's what we're here for. So I thank the committee for the nomination and for this evening, and I thank all my fellow nominees and their sponsors for being a part of this great effort. It is tremendous, and everyone should be saluted for helping the Bay. Thank you very much.
Well said,
Wonderful.
Ted.
Yes. Thank you, Ted and John, for the introduction. And next up is Eric Matheson from Blackstone Lake to introduce Andy Metelka, who was nominated by both Eric Matheson and Carolyn Burkhardt Schultz.
Good evening, folks. In addition to those two nominations, Andy was enthusiastically nominated by the full membership of the Blackstone Lake Association at our last annual meeting. He's advocated for and modeled environmental stewardship on our lake for over 50 years, and more recently has carried that mantle for the last 8 years as our GBA director. Andy brings a professional science-based lens to his advocacy. His stewardship tackles both policy, but also hands-on involvement. Right now, he's continuing the opposition to the Meaford TC Energy project with a submission entitled, "The Solution to Pollution is Not Dilution." I think he had some fun coming up with that. He's written extensive, well-researched, comprehensive position papers on the Sudbury Hydro Corridor, which is a concern on Blackstone Lake at the moment. But he's also diving into frigid waters, spring and fall, to fight invasive pondweed. and he's built dozens of bass nests, technically correct bass nests with the proper gravel and everything on our lake. And in the summer, he's out there with the team. It isn't a huge issue for us yet, but any Phragmites that we do find, Andy's on that file too. But this isn't a lifetime achievement honor at all. He hasn't slowed down a bit and is passionate about engaging younger generations of cottagers. He's a keen videographer, and his Beneath Blackstone videos are known to all on the lake. Uh, all the kids wanted one. He's done things like trained a bass to jump up out of the water to take worms, and the underwater videos are really something. They've been on TVO. I think the Land Trust has featured them, a variety of other places, and you can check these out on the Blackstone Lake website. He's also our Lake Good Samaritan, helping out others on numerous occasions with, if boats fail or if motors fail, cars on the road. He's always thinking about the common good. And this was just such an enthusiastic nomination from our membership. He's a champion for sure. And, new terms, a seeing eye and a helping hand, always thinking about the common good. So it's a real privilege to be able to say these words, share these words with you tonight, and say thank you, Andy.
Well, thank you, Eric. That was quite something. So thank you, Catherine, as well, and the Blackstone Lake Cottagers. It's indeed an honor to follow Carolyn Reimel, last year's champion. Blackstone Lake has many champions, long before me, and hopefully many have yet to evolve. Too many people to list in this time available. They all deserve recognition and credit. Another reason for my involvement with the lake was to speak on behalf of nature and marine life. As a teenager, I witnessed people killing snakes, turtles, even frogs out of fear and ignorance. It was an endless task for me to educate people to share the space rather than destroy its natural occupants. So I began with my efforts with photography and videos. A picture's worth 1,000 words, a video's worth 1,000 pictures. Even before I began attending the Blackstone Lake Cottage Association get-togethers and AGMs over 40 years ago, other champions molded this lake into what it is today. I pay my respects by continuing what they started. Some have helped neighbors with many projects, such as Eric mentioned, fish habitats. Eric was doing that too. I have to give Eric credit for helping out with the bass nets, conducting water quality monitoring, loons nests, and so on. Some have even donated their land to the GBLT, the Georgian Bay Land Trust. But many go unnoticed. I would like to thank all of them as I share this recognition with the team that protected the lake and the beautiful nature surrounding it. The biggest challenge our lake faces is with the recruitment of newer, younger people to carry the torch. I hope generations ahead of us will appreciate and continue this progression and understand that their efforts can be rewarding in many ways. It may include working with other associations like the Georgian Bay Land Trust, Georgian Bay Foundation, Georgian Bay Association, Georgian Bay Biosphere, and even the Township of Archipelago. Surrounding yourself with good people is a very pleasurable, positive experience. I met some of the best people, and I have fond memories of our discussions and achievements over the years. I wish that Team Blackstone would exist for many generations to come. So thank you for the nomination, and thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Andy. Next, we're going to hear from Kara Hunter of the Cognition Cottagers Association.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you to the Georgian Bay Association for celebrating the people who, Allison, you put it well, quietly help protect this incredible place that we care so deeply about. I am Kara Hunter, and I'm speaking tonight as chair of the Cognasheen Cottagers Association, or the CCA, and one of Jack Giroux's nominators. But I'm really here representing our whole board and community, and it's a real pleasure to recognize our association champion, Jack. We are fortunate to have Jack as the environment director on our CCA board, and Jack and I have worked together for the last several years. If you know Jack, you know he's probably slightly uncomfortable being the center of attention tonight. He'd much rather be out testing water quality, organizing an environment event for the community, shoreline cleanup from Phragmites, or keeping the community current on the latest environmental research. What makes Jack such a deserving recipient is not just the work that he does, but it's the way that he brings us all into it. He has a rare ability to make environmental stewardship feel practical, positive, and community driven. So this past summer, Jack relaunched the CCA Environment Day, and we had heard from our community that they were seeking more education on environmental topics and seeking how do we leave generational environmental legacy. And Jack made it happen, and he organized the entire event. It was really well attended, and it was a fascinating session on learning about turtles. All generations attended. Jack has also recognized the importance of getting youth involved. And so he's been taking part in helping the kids in our recreation program learn about turtles and invasive species. In light of the recent wildfire activity that we've had over the last couple of summers, both near and far, he's taken a role to bring education on wildfire preparedness to Cognasheen. And lastly, encouraging healthier practices around waste and plastic management at the Bay. And in all of this, Jack leads with enthusiasm, humility, and what we've talked about, optimism. And importantly, Jack does this all as a volunteer. He's not looking for recognition. He does this because he genuinely loves Georgian Bay and wants future generations to experience it the way that we all have. And so the Champion of the Bay Award recognizes people like Jack who inspire others through actions. And for Cognasheen, this is unquestionably him. So Jack, thank you very much for your leadership, your energy, and showing us that while protecting Georgian Bay can be serious work, it is also deeply rewarding. You remind us that preserving this place is a shared responsibility, and that small actions taken together truly do make a difference. So congratulations to all of us from Cognasheen.
Wow, thank you, Kara. Yeah, I love being the center of attention. It's awesome. I can confidently say that the reason I'm here with all of you today is because of you, Kara, and the rest of the CCA board, as well as the those in the broader Georgian Bay community who have provided the space and resources to collaborate, co-create, and explore ideas on environmental issues. I'm incredibly humbled to be here with everyone today. I'm also incredibly humbled to, I think, be the youngest association level champion. However, I still have much to learn from all the lifelong stewards that make up this panel, who have devoted decades of their lives to preserving the Bay. But as the youngest association champion, following your lead, Andy, I want to use my time to speak to the younger generation. Hopefully they're amongst us in the crowd, and how they can support environmental initiatives around Georgian Bay. My message is pretty simple. Just you have the power, and get organized and get involved. When I first joined the Georgian Bay Water Quality Committee, Georgian Bay Association Water Quality Committee, I had no idea that in a couple of weeks I would be sitting in front of the MP for Parry Sound Muskoka discussing cruise ship wastewater pollution. The amazing, dedicated stewards on the committee were keen to let me take a turn at bat. My point is, there are dozens of NGOs, civil society organizations, and associations like these that are eager for your help. They want your help because we're stronger together and you have the power to make a difference. Climate change poses an existential threat to human food systems, ecosystem functions, and global stability. And these challenges thrive on isolation and individualism. Impacts will be felt locally. So getting involved and with your local NGOs and community members on solving these issues is critical. It's our generation that will inherit these consequences. So yeah, get involved and speak up. And yeah, thank you, Kara, the CCA, Catherine, Meredith, and Heather, and everyone else involved in this amazing night and initiative. Thank you.
Thanks, Jack. That was great. I'm also the chair of the membership committee, so we may need to recruit you to see if you can entice some younger people. That was a wonderful little motivating speech you gave there. So next up we have Catherine Davis is going to speak to us from the Honey Harbor Association.
Thank you. It is an absolute great honor to introduce my fellow champion of the Bay and my good friend Sonia Lester. Sonia really does embody all things Georgian Bay. Sonia and I met while she was teaching yoga on the rocks, on the docks, and in the pine trees at the old schoolhouse in Honey Harbor. And Sonia, I'm also a yoga teacher, so I can speak to this. Sonia incorporates many, many aspects of the environment into her practices, including salutes to each direction, such as honoring the sun and the new beginnings in the east. She teaches poses such as the snake pose, as in our rattlesnake pose. She teaches bear pose, where we grip our paws on the Great Canadian Shield and notice and appreciate the lichen and the mosses under our fingertips. So really embodying everything Georgian Bay within her practice, which is so beautiful. One day last summer, while Sonia and I were boat pooling into the harbor to play pickleball, Sonia told me a story. And it wasn't the nastiness of the dismantled beaver dam spilling into the bay or into the water into the bay by her cottage. It was the end result of that whole occurrence that made me really want to nominate Sonia and what really impressed me. The outflow was a brown wall of water, which was originating from a small creek, which drains a landlocked lake into the bay by Sonia's cottage. So what happened and what the result of that whole occurrence was that Sonia worked tirelessly with her neighbors, recruiting neighbors. She worked with the owner of the property where the dam was located. She worked with the Ministry of the Environment. She connected with the Ministry of Natural Resources, the Ministry of Fisheries, the township, and Georgian Bay Forever. So with all of her outreach, working within the community and with those bodies, the result was a four-step action plan, which is now in place. And that is in place so that when future incidences of this nature happen, we as a community will have proper protocols in place should we ever encounter something like that in our neighborhoods. So as per the opening, Sonia was the seeing eye and the willing hand that resulted in this great action plan within our community. Thank you, Sonia.
Woo! Thanks, Catherine. Oh, thanks so much for your kind words, first of all. Thanks for your nomination and your friendship. You are such an inspiration, Miss Pragmati. I think this forum is wonderful. It's an honor to be nominated by the Honey Harbor Association. which I've been a part of for many, many years, and my family for probably up to 50 years. I thank you to the Georgian Bay Association and with all of you people here that are at this forum, you dedicated volunteers that are sharing your stories, your knowledge. It's very inspiring, and this is the way it should be done, storytelling. Goes on for generations and generations and generations. So commend you on that. Be aware, communication, and action. May 2025, a man-made environmental disaster of that landlocked marsh was released into Minnow Bay, North Bay, Honey Harbor. Luckily, we were here because not too many people were up here. And we noticed it flooding across the bay. Within 2 hours, the entire bay was brown sludge. We hiked up, we checked it out. We notified the MOE, we notified Georgian Bay Township, and thanks very much to Mayor Coetzee, a dear friend, that immediately got his people out, his senior officers, and they closed down the operation after, though a little bit too late, but they closed it down nevertheless. And it's an ongoing thing, I think, with the MOE, and some follow-up still has to happen. Georgian Bay Forever was apprised of all the situation, and they worked with the township for these 4 protocols that Catherine was talking about. Now, what was a problem in the whole thing was the communication. Ron and I mean, I do talk a lot and I have this and that, but my husband, Ron, and I, we notified we don't have everyone's phone numbers. I don't know if you do. Everyone has cell phones. So we notified the road allowance people, and they notified their 30 people on the road. We talked to Woods Landing. Anyone that came into Woods Landing to get on their boat, they told them, be aware of this problem because we're coming into the long weekend. Water filters, kids swimming. It was a disaster. So in the end, communication is important. And the 4 protocols developed are direction, immediate notification to the residents that are affected, direction of best practice, retesting and sharing results, a follow-up plan, let's say with the Georgian Bay Township, with the MOE, or maybe Georgian Bay Association, but really good organizations that can take the lead on this, and strategy options for prevention, because we certainly don't want this to happen again. So my advice is to take notes from nature. Starlings communicate and move in massive flocks of thousands, murmurations. Each individual watches and matches the movements of 6 or 7 just around them. And they pass the information across the whole flock in milliseconds. Flocks act as information centers. They share the threats, the environmental data, where to forage, and where they're going to go rest and stay warm together. So my suggestion to you is to know your community, know your people in the Bay, have those phone numbers, communicate, share your knowledge, and share your passion. We're all in it together. Be sure to give back. Thanks.
Thanks, ladies. Okay, next up we have Susan Raphael to introduce Andrew Hurlbart from the Key River Association.
Thanks, Allison, and congratulations to all of the other champions. Their nominees. I'm hearing such great stories. I am not Andrew's nominee. I am Andrew's wife, so I have to say nice things about him. Carl Spies was his nominator, and I'm just going to give you a little bit of where that came from. In 2025, Andrew Hurlbut achieved a remarkable milestone, by helping restore the darkness to Key River's night sky. For 3.5 years, he worked with Pattern Energy to advocate for a radar activated system at the nearby Henvey Inlet wind farm. So turbine navigation lights now turn on only when aircraft are present. In his nomination of Andrew, Carl Spies of Key River Associations wrote, "The light pollution was previously visible as far away as the Bustard Islands. Now hundreds of people can again enjoy the night sky as it was for millennia." Andrew's commitment to Georgian Bay extends well beyond this accomplishment. In addition to serving as director and secretary on GBA's board, he chairs the Boating Safety and Emergencies Committee, is a longtime member of Key River Area Association, and volunteers with the Lake Partner Program, monitoring the water quality in Henvey Inlet. Whether advocating for dark skies, safer waterways, or a healthier environment, Andrew consistently gives his time and energy to protecting the places and communities we all care so much about. Thank you, Andrew Hurlbut.
And thank you, honey. And a big thank you to all of you who are here tonight and for your remarkable achievements. I like to call this story, that's the night that the lights went out in Georgian Bay. In 2017, Pattern Energy began construction on the Henvey Inlet Wind Farm, a massive project that was completed late in 2019. We knew the wind farm would have a major impact on the local area, and it's true what people say, you actually get used to seeing the wind turbines during the day quite quickly. But what they don't prepare you for is the night. Throughout the summer of 2020, we realized how invasive and pervasive the project was after dark. There were 87 turbines installed, each standing a towering 132 meters high. 39 of these towers were equipped with aeronautical warning lights on the top and 2 more halfway up the masts. They all flash red, roughly every second. By the fall of 2020, and looking at that constant and somehow jarring blinking, I had decided that I had to try to do something to mitigate the light pollution. My first step was to pick up the phone and call NavCan. I wanted to understand the rules about lighting these towers, and more importantly, what we might be able to do to mitigate it. They provided me with the legal requirements that existed for the wind farm as it stood, but they also dropped a crucial piece of information. They mentioned that technology existed that could turn the lights off most of the time, activating them only when aircraft were nearby. So armed with those facts, I reached out to Frank Davis at Pattern Energy in February of 2021. As it turns out, Frank was incredibly receptive to our concerns. That single phone call kicked off a conversation that stretched over 2 years, focusing on the possibility of implementing a radar-activated lighting system. It required patience, perseverance, and perhaps a bit of charm, but we did it. And at the end of 2022, Pattern Energy officially approved the installation of the system. But approval was just the beginning. What followed was 2 years of studies, permits, and ultimately the physical installation of the radar technology. And then, in the spring of 2025, the lights went out. The natural dark sky of Georgian Bay was restored. So I think the moral of this story is that if you notice something's wrong or can be better, don't be daunted. Just do some research, look up the facts, and then reach out to the people who have the power to help you change it. Don't ever assume that you can't make a difference. And above all, don't be afraid to try. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Andrew. Our next champion is Eleanor Proctor of Mad Club. I understand that the nominator, Bri Bonner, can't be here, and so our own Catherine Denun is going to introduce Eleanor.
Hi everyone, I'm very honored to introduce Eleanor tonight. Eleanor also could not be here, unfortunately. I think she is out working on the bay, actually, so she's very committed. So Bri Bonner, I want to share some words that she shared with everyone. Eleanor is known as the environment lady in our community. Without Eleanor, I feel that many rattlesnakes would be killed, as people are understandably afraid of them close to the cottage. So, Eleanor is really passionate about environmental education, and she uses her online platform to inspire people to appreciate and enjoy the unique nature of Georgian Bay. Through her posts, Eleanor shares her love of plant and animal identification and encourages everyone to pick up pollution as well. She is the one to call if a bird is found trapped or an animal is hurt. So I'm sorry we couldn't have either one of them here tonight. I'm sure they would share much more. I do not know Eleanor myself, but I know that she has made a really big impact and continues to in her community. So a big congratulations to Eleanor, and we are all thinking of both of you tonight. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Catherine, and congratulations, Eleanor. Next up is Judy Maynard from the Manitou Association.
Good evening, everyone. I am so delighted to tell you a little bit about our association and to introduce our Champions of the Bay in Manitou. Manitou, as you can see on the map, is the smallest but the mightiest association in the GBA, situated between Sans Souci and Wawatasi on the eastern shore of Georgian Bay, or as I like to describe it, halfway between Parry Sound and Honey Harbor. We are blessed to have Camp Hurontario on our eastern border, and we are home to some of the most beautiful, unique rockscapes in the world, as featured in the art of the late Ed Bartram, who was president of our association in 1969. Our association started in 1929 and joined the GBA in 1962. The history of our area is fascinating, but I will summarize only just a few highlights. Our area got its road access in 1965 through the Moose Deer Bandland onto 12 Mile and King Bays. But until our area was, up until 1965, our area was serviced by steamer ships, such as the Midland City from Midland Penetang en route to Parry Sound. And they landed on a small rock just off the main channel on the western part of Manitou. The boats brought people, mail, and supplies to the Manitou area, and were met by cottagers and campers in rowboats and small motorboats. And it was a great social event. The last steamship stopped running in the mid-1960s. And fast forward to modernity. The cribs of the dock are still there. The outhouses are gone, but the ghosts and the legends remain. And Manitou Dock is now owned by the Georgian Bay Land Trust. Our association has about 50 families, and they are very active participants, each taking a turn to be on our executive to run meetings in their cottages annually and to organize our annual regatta. Our regatta barbecue is a very popular event with kids and the kids in all of us. These days, it's being held on the Baines property on Kashi. The cup is won by the family who corrals the most descendants to participate. There are swim races, canoe races, including 6 in a canoe, funniest hat contest, sandal toss, and the pièce de résistance, the minnow races, which the adults bet on. It's a great moneymaker. Last year, the Burns won it again. Helen was over 85 years of age and pressured into the water to swim for participation points. Her 5 kids and innumerable grandkids were cheering her on. Kathy and Darren have been instrumental in keeping our Manitou Association alive. Ever since they bought Moose Deer Lodge, if one of them puts their hand up to volunteer, the other comes along as part of the package. And they've been on the executive for years. Darren was our representative to the GBA. They've run our regatta for about 20 years. They run Phragmites extermination trips. They monitor the Manitou Dock as stewards for the GBLT. They've cleaned up their own property, which of course had tons of garbage, some toxic, getting it to the proper landfill with boatload after boatload. There's a long history in Georgian Bay of garbage habits when there was no landfills, cans dumped in the bay, boats abandoned, gas tanks dumped, etc. It was a nightmare when they first arrived, but they have diligently removed the waste and beautified their small part of G Bay. Kathy and Darren are very fun to be around and inclusive, and they draw in new young members to our association and projects. Thanks to Kathy and Darren, we have a very strong Manitou Association of Directors. A new generation is enthusiastically wanting to protect our community as unique and special. And I am so honored to be introducing to you this incredible team who are Kathy Coles and Darren Buckland as our Manitou Champions of the Bay.
Thanks, Judy. Thank you so much, Judy. And just briefly, we have both been coming up here for many, many years. I used to come up in my youth with my parents, but it is the beauty that Judy spoke to that we both appreciated and wanted to come back to. For years, we have a shoreside cleanup, not just of our own area, but everywhere else that we can take things to. And in fact, at the very beginning of this presentation, I think you might have noticed there was a picture of a woman standing beside a boat loaded with garbage. That was me. And my young daughter was in the boat as well too, which we continue to do. And if I pick up this camera, I could show you our boat right now, loaded up to go to the dump again with what we have collected from the shore.
It's ready to go.
It is such an honor to be nominated for this. But as many before us have said, the honor goes back to Georgian Bay. We do this not just for us, but for our kids, but for everybody else. This is such a gift we have in Georgian Bay, and we treasure it.
Yeah, we are such a small organization, like Judy said, 56 water access cottagers. And if we don't do it, nobody else will. So
yeah,
we kind of have to do it together.
So thank you very much. We will continue to support,
visit the dump,
and to support in any way we can protecting this amazing biosphere and place we call Georgian Bay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much. Next up, I'd like to introduce Ian Cook from the McGregor Bay Association.
Congratulations, everyone, tonight. It's all very inspiring. I'm Ian, and I'm the president of the McGregor Bay Association. Tonight, I have the honor of introducing you to our champion of the Bay, Doug Whitten. Doug and I represent McGregor, a magical bay within a bay, located at the extreme northern limits of our GBA catchment area. It's far removed geographically and perhaps culturally from places like Point O'Barrel and Honey Harbor. Ringed by the Lacloche mountain range and peppered with islands and shoals, McGregor Bay's natural beauty is the backdrop for fishing, hunting, and boating. Born and raised in the GTA, Doug lives in Toronto, but spends as much time in the Bay as possible, more now since retiring recently. His family has been coming up to their cottage on West Sampson Island since the mid-60s. Doug used to be able to spend his time canoeing, hiking, swimming, sailing, and cliff jumping. Now that he's retired, he gets to spend his time maintaining, repairing, restoring, and renovating the buildings on his piece of paradise. We welcome visitors from the south in McGregor Bay as long as there aren't too many and they don't stay too long. But one southern visitor we don't welcome is the invasive Phragmites, or common reed. I imagine everyone here is familiar with the wetland choking invader. Being so far north, Phragmites has just made a toehold in the bay in a couple of quiet back bays. When Doug got wind of this, instead of tut-tutting and gnashing his teeth, he got active and motivated. In just a few years, he has educated us on the threat, got a bunch of cottagers involved, had experts in to train us on eradication, secured funding, and mobilized work crews. Perhaps most importantly and impressively, Doug reached out to our neighbors on the Whitefish River First Nation. They've been working with him to map the occurrence of frag and develop a strategy for control and eradication. Cooperation with our neighboring First Nation is a step that we all too often neglect when dealing with issues in Georgian Bay. His effort and dedication to what will undoubtedly be a long-term project makes him a worthy recipient of the Guardian of the Bay Award.
Hey, thanks, Ian. Yeah, it's great to see everybody here. Thanks for nominating me. I really feel honored to have been nominated with this event, what Catherine Danoon has put together, which is, I think, a brilliant event because everybody is getting psyched to, maintain and, the environment that we all share. Okay. So, yeah, we McGregor Bay and Bay of Islands are the northern end of Georgian Bay. So we're the far north of the GBA, the organization. So, why am I doing this work? It just sort of happened. Like I've been aware of Phragmites quite a bit, and we've been looking around McGregor Bay for the past decade in terms of like where are we seeing Phragmites, et cetera. And what I found is it's really hard to find Phragmites in McGregor Bay because it is so complicated. The number of bays, islands, the square footage of shoreline, it's huge. And so I think the big problem, or one of the big problems, is communication. How do I get the message out to all the cottagers in McGregor Bay, of which there are many? And not all of them belong to the McGregor Bay Association, which hopefully will make inroads there, get more members. And then how do we get people to then the next problem is education. How do we educate people to understand how do you identify an invasive Phragmite? Because it is extremely hard. It's just another plant amongst, many, many plants, as you're all aware. So the community of cottagers in McGregor Bay is, they are the people that deserve to be honored. The kind of hard work that has come together on the ground through, you know, I don't know, we've got about 30 volunteers that go out to cut Phragmites. So that community is recognized by the organizations that are managing the invasive species problems. So there's been a lot of changes in how this is being managed, but the good news is that McGregor Bay Association is going to be working, with Bay of Islands Community Association directly and Whitefish River First Nations because their lands department are doing incredible work on species at risk. They're repopulating species that are in decline, uh, notably turtles and walleye is a big one because McGregor Bay is one of the best fishing areas around, and it's known for the McGregor Bay walleye, which is a very rare fish that everybody really wants. So the collaboration is important, the communication is super important, and I'm very confident that this is going to grow and that we've got kind of a model for how we're going to work with these environmental problems, from the point of view of community and the McGregor Bay Association and the Invasive Species Center is very engaged in the problems. And there are a lot of challenges, and I think we are going to be able to meet them all in the future. And I just want to thank everybody for putting on this event. And I don't know how many people from McGregor Bay are here, but they are the people that are making it happen. And I've gotten a lot of feedback from the Invasive Species Center and from the people that are like managing the programs, the grant programs that are, really working on this problem, that community is super important and community efforts are being recognized and they're part of the whole system from, multiple levels, from multiple communities across the whole northern Georgian Bay area, which is a very diverse community of all kinds of permanent residents and summer residents. So I'll leave it at that. I'm sure lots of you went to camp when you were kids and you learned that what you do when you're on a canoe trip and you go to the campsite is you leave it in better shape than you found it. And that's what we're all trying to do. So thanks a lot.
And thanks for coming.
Thanks, Doug and Ian. Um, Next up, I'd like to introduce Sarah Murph, who is from the Northern Georgian Bay Association.
Thanks so much, Allison. I'm really happy to be here and honored to be introducing this year's NGBA Champion of the Bay awardee, Frida Clausen, on behalf of the NGBA board and our membership. Frida has been a Bay neighbor and family friend for decades. She is a passionate, dedicated, persistent, and hardworking member of our NGBA community. This is particularly special for me because last year Frida nominated and presented the inaugural Champions of the Bay Award to my late father, Harvey Merck. My dad adored Frida and cherished his friendship with her and her husband, Bill. They shared a love of the Bay's beauty and the NGBA community that they worked together with so many others to build. So why did we, the NGBA board, nominate Frida? I've collected some thoughts from others, and Frida is a person who has her finger on the pulse of the Bay and our area in particular, and all of its issues and challenges. She never hesitates to speak up for our causes, and she has served in almost every position of our organization. Frida has been a tireless volunteer and advocate for all of us and our causes, but especially the environment. From the very conception of the NGBA in 1992 and its affiliation with the larger GBA. For a number of years, she's been our GBA representative and member of the Environment Committee, representing our interest to the GBA and keeping our board and members educated on GBA priorities. In particular, specifically, Frida's worked really every angle of our ongoing challenge of garbage collection, removal, and disposal, including shore cleanups and large appliance and other, difficult to remove waste at camps in our area that, if others haven't been up our way, is a large geographic area, but small in terms of cottages and numbers of people. So we're pretty spread out, and it's a challenge for us to remove waste and garbage, whether those are old dumps or waste from current camps. And she's really engaged Killarney municipal stakeholders. She's worked with our membership. She's generated ideas. She's tried out things, and she's educated all of us on this really critical issue. She's also championed things like microplastics and microplastics filters, Phragmites removal, and so many other specific ways that our environment is challenged. This year, she is initiated and is organizing a community photo contest to highlight our natural area and get younger folks involved. I wanted to also note that she's also always had the best interest of the local community of Killarney in mind as we work on these issues and try to engage our community in addressing the environmental challenges of our time. She's pushed our board, for instance, to hold our annual members meetings, our AMMs, at municipal spaces. So our resources are going towards the village and not private interests, and many other examples that I hope that Frida will talk about a bit herself. But I wanted to say that on an individual level, Frida has a beautiful and bountiful vegetable garden every summer at their camp. She spends many months at their camp with her husband Bill, including in the depths of the winter, cross-country skiing from the Killarney Road to the camp. And she has a gaggle of grandchildren with whom she shares her love of the environment and her commitment to the Bay, and who are really the next champions, the next generation of champions of the Bay. Frida, you're an inspiration to me in so many ways, a wonderful collaborator, always thank you for all your photos. Our website would not be the same without them. And I always love seeing you and Bill coming up the bay to our place and our end of the bay, and knowing that you'll be bringing a new issue, a new idea that needs to be championed. So Frida, congratulations, so well deserved, and love that you're carrying the torch.
Wow. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. The recognition is actually surprising to me and unexpected, but it certainly is appreciated. I'd like to start my words by acknowledging my late father, who I attribute my love of nature, my walking barefoot, and who taught me about conservation and how to live low impact living. He was a true inspiration to me. And while I was thinking about tonight, I read a Bible verse that I want to share. David wrote in Psalm 8, verse 6, "O Lord, you have called us to be stewards of the works of your hands. Give us strength, courage, and joy in carrying out your calling in this beautiful creation of yours." And I just want to say that being a good steward brings me great joy. And I think from all the people that have spoken so far, I think you can probably all say exactly the same thing. It is joyful to be here. And I am so blessed that I am living in the surroundings that I am. My husband and I are retired now, so we can spend more than half of our year here. I'm passionate about the water, the rocks, and the trees, just like all of you. I mean, that's what we think of. You can close your eyes, and that's what you can see and feel and smell when you're in a place where you need to smell and just feel the surroundings that are here. I love all of the wildlife. I love the birds and the turtles. And today I took a picture of a beautiful turtle sitting on a rock for 2 hours. It was sitting with its long neck sticking out. It's just wonderful for me. So my message really is that if each one of us and your family and your children, and yes, I have 12 grandchildren and I'm teaching them about nature, it's just to do the easy little things to protect the place that we call Georgian Bay. Together, if we do that, we can make a positive impact and leave nature to do what nature does best. And I thank you for the honor.
Thank you, Frida, Sarah. Next up, we have Ann Randall from the Point of Barrel Association to introduce Kathy Fairley.
Thank you, Allison. I'm pretty excited to be a part of this tonight. It's my first opportunity to do so. I'm the vice president of PABIA, the Point of Barrel Islanders Association, and I'm actually representing Mary Thompson, who is our president and who is the nominee for Kath Fairley. And in Mary's absence, we thought maybe David Sharp, who is our PABIA rep on GBA, might be able to do this. But I'm just checking here. Yeah, my video should be on. I think it says it is. Anyway, both David and Mary are traveling. Fortunate for Mary, she's in Malta. And Dave Sharp is fishing way up north. So the honor of doing this introduction has fallen to me. So I'm delighted to take on that role and to tell you a bit more about Kath Fairley, who truly, in our eyes, is a champion of the Bay. She has been passionate about the environment and about Georgian Bay and about Point of Barrel her whole life. She's grown up here. Summer after summer. She's a fifth generation cottager in Point of Barrel. And she joined our Pabia Marine Patrol in 2018. And in that role, she worked very closely with all the Georgian Bay organizations. She worked with the Georgian Bay Biosphere and the Lake Partners Program doing water testing. And she also worked with GBB doing rattlesnake gestation surveys. And she did frag cuts for many years with GBF, Georgian Bay Forever. And she also did a lot of work on land stewardship with GBLT. So she sort of has a variety of areas that she has made her mark and made a real difference. I think one of the things that is most important, and the people in the northern part of Georgian Bay will be interested to hear this, that Catherine and her team did frag busting with Georgian Bay Forever, getting rid of Phragmites in the Point of Barrel area in 2018, 2019, and 2020. And they were so successful that now all they have to do is double check as to whether there are any new growths. And so far there hasn't been, and that's a really good sign and a very, very successful program. So I hope that those in our northern area will have the same success. In 2022, Kath joined the Pabia board in the portfolio of member safety and dealt with things like fire preparedness, boating safety, and maps and markers in our area. And I think you all know that with the climate challenges we're having, fire prevention has been a critical aspect of protecting Georgian Bay. So it's good that she and her team has done a lot of work in that area. And it includes early season contests to encourage families to start up and practice their fire pumps, as well as maintaining Pabia's 5 Wajack pumps that are located throughout the area. And I think this has been a really important initiative that's made a real difference. She also worked with the provincial fire authorities to develop a series of 6 articles on how to prepare for and respond to fires. So I think you can see by the breadth of examples of things that she's been involved with, she really is a champion of the Bay and has made a really big difference through all the work that we do. So now the sad thing is that Kath Fairley is also traveling. So I get to share with you a few remarks from her that she sent in. I asked her, if you were there, what would you like to say? And this is what she shared with me, that every year of her life, she has summered in Point of Barrel. So the special nature of Georgian Bay is ingrained in my blood. The quiet beauty on a still summer morning as the sun rises, the raging storms that roll in from across the bay, the call of the loon at night, enjoying the fresh water to swim in, then laying on the hot rocks to dry in the sun. These are all memories I think about during the winter months when I'm away from my happy place. Beyond that, it is a place where 6 generations of Fairleys have met every August for the gathering of the clan. It is a place for family memories to be made and shared and to bring the generations together. Conservation of the special nature of the Bay is not new to my generation. My grandfather, Urquhart, was a staunch conservationist, and he instilled in the younger generations. My father remembers spending hours planting trees across our island to replace those burned in an early fire. I remember spending hours building paths across our island so we could walk and enjoy the forest and its creatures. My cousins and siblings have created a managed forest on the island that is protected and reported on to the Ministry of Forestry every year. Point of Barrel is a special place to all of us, and conservation of the natural beauty will always be of greatest importance. So I'm sorry that I had to read that, but I wanted to share with you directly her thoughts and her appreciation for this really wonderful award. And I congratulate all the other awardees. This has been enjoyable so far, and I know there's more to come, but it's really, really wonderful to hear all these great stories and of all the people that are making such a difference on our bay. Thank you.
Thanks, Anne. Next, I'd like to have Catherine speak again and to introduce Jane Ann Campbell from St. Lucie and Copperhead.
Hi, everyone. I am very honored tonight to introduce Jane Ann Campbell. I can't think of a more deserving person from the Sans Souci area to receive this award tonight. Jane Ann has been a conservation leader in Sans Souci and beyond for many, many years. Jane Ann and her family have been really committed volunteer stewards for the land trust, and have hosted the land trust staff as they've traveled up and down the bay, and also researchers and professors studying turtles, wetlands, for even, I think, weeks at a time. But she's also specifically a land trust steward for the Umbrella Islands, which, if you don't know, is an outer island chain of islands, which is not that close to her cottage. So she's made quite a commitment ever since they were donated to the land trust, and really her personal mission, I would say, to steward these islands, whether it's removing fire pits or picking up litter or just reporting what she finds. She is consistently out there taking care of those islands. She also has a real passion for wildlife, and especially birds and reptiles. So she and I believe her daughter Mary have been long-term volunteers also for the Ontario Breeding Bird Atlas. So that involved them going out in the early mornings every spring, listening for bird calls and songs, and finding breeding birds. And this gets incorporated into a book that gets published every few years and is really essential for bird research both in Ontario but likely worldwide as well. She also is a long-term volunteer for the Ontario Turtle Conservation Centre, which is located in Peterborough. And a great example of this was this past summer in Spider Bay, which is where I'm from. She and her husband Glenn rescued a turtle that had a cracked shell, and they organized transport for this turtle to Peterborough. And then a few weeks later, when the turtle was ready to be re-released, they re-released this turtle back into Spider Bay. So that was a very happy story. And in addition, Jane Ann has successfully campaigned for turtle and reptile crossing signs along the road to Woods Bay. So these are just a few of the things that I know that Jane Ann has done. I'm sure she has done much, much more. But it is really such an honor to introduce her, and I can't think of a more deserving person from Sans Souci. So a big congratulations to you, Jane Ann.
Well, thank you so much, Catherine. It's just such an honor to be chosen as a champion of the Bay. I am going through a bit of a difficult time in my life right now, and just with cancer, and I I was really, really, really thrilled. Not that you don't not that you don't just do these things because you want to do them and you have done them for all these years, but it was just an amazing time to have this come along. As a child, I had a very strong relationship with animals, big and small, and would often have sick and injured wildlife in our house, which of course was quite distressing to my mother. But I, but then as a mother of young children, when my own kids were small, I became interested in how to protect the bears, rattlesnakes, and other animals in Georgian Bay, where they seem to be continually misjudged and persecuted. Cottagers would often kill them because they were so afraid of them. And I began to connect with advocates for these species, including Mike McIntosh of Bear With Us, Bob Johnson, who is curator of reptiles and amphibians at the Toronto Zoo, and Bert Coral, who was zone ecologist of MNR. These three individuals, Mike, Bob, and Bert, taught me so much about wildlife and what it was like to look for and find them in nature. Using the right habitat charts and special techniques, such as using, special sticks to locate spotted turtles, to hang over the front of boats to look for stinkpot turtles on the bottom of the bay. And more than anything, I had to learn to think like a critter. So I had to ask myself, why does a bear continually come back to the same site for food? And how can you make this bear go away? Because in Sans Souci, there are always a lot of problems between bears and humans and the interaction. It would be a constant source of discussion every year. So I was soon trying to spread what I had been learning to others. And so 25 years ago, it was a revelation to be told by Bob Johnson at the zoo that a rattlesnake should not be moved from your cottage site. Because back at that time, you would often pack up the snake in a garbage can and you would take it away to some island a long way away and release it there. And he said, no, you should just leave it right on your property. And I said, oh, but I have young children. I just don't know. I just don't understand how I can do that. And he said, yeah, you can. You can raise your children there with the snakes right on your property. And that was what we started to do in our family. So I guess the more you interact with others who share your passion, the more you're energized and you have the confidence to get involved in big new activities, such as the Ontario Breeding Bird Atlas. And many thanks to some of the people who have really helped me along the way. And Aaron Rusak is somebody who's just been amazing for me, answering all my crazy questions, looking at all my bizarre photos and trying to help me figure out what bird was what for the Breeding Bird Atlas. And, beyond the black flies, the ticks, the mosquitoes, the deer flies, I feel you have to just get out in nature as much as you can. Because no matter what, you're going to see something wonderful, even if it's raining a bit and even if, the circumstances aren't quite right. So don't go anywhere without your binoculars and your camera. Take your family with you. And in my case, it's my amazing husband, Glenn, and my children, Clara, Mary, and Holly, who are just all wonderful and very passionate about nature. And your grandchildren, your friends, have hot chocolate or beer or popcorn when you get home and celebrate your outdoor adventure. So thank you again very much, Catherine. I really appreciate it. And I appreciate what everybody here is doing towards nature. I'm amazed by all the stories I'm hearing, and it's giving me lots of ideas.
Okay, it looks like we're going to hear from Catherine again to introduce Peter Adams from the South Channel Association.
Hi, everyone. Yes, I'm very lucky to get to present two wonderful people tonight. So Peter Adams is another wonderful champion, and Peter Adams is from the South Channel Association. He is someone whose enthusiasm for animals and wildlife is just really contagious, you could say. It's quite amazing, and Peter's involved in all kinds of initiatives. I've had the pleasure of working with Peter for probably almost the last 10 years on Phragmites. Peter was very early in jumping on Phragmites and working on eradication and really just spearheaded the efforts in South Channel. but also volunteered in his neighboring and also his association as well, Sans Souci. Peter and his wife, actually his wife Beth, I should say, both have done a lot of Phragmites work. And they both together have hosted many events over the years, hosting the Georgian Bay Biosphere with bio blitzes or information or anyway, just how to be better steward for anyone in South Channel to come. Peter has also served as the lead contact for the Kids in the Biosphere initiative in South Channel, which is run by the Georgian Bay Biosphere. You can tell he's really passionate about getting all kinds of people involved in nature and wildlife. And Peter is a very avid fisherman. He cares a lot about the health of the fishery. And so a few years ago, in coordination with the Biosphere, Peter located and had some predetermined sites where some additional habitat was helpful. And he organized us creating some brush bundles and then sinking them to create some more fish habitat. He also is a regular contributor to the South Channel Association newsletter on the waterfront, writing about stewardship, scientific articles, all different kinds of stewardship stories. He also organized a couple of years ago, along with other volunteers from South Channel, building bat houses. And so I think they built about 8 bat houses. It was a whole group effort, and then they were given to community members who had suitable habitat. He's also built turtle nest protection cages to give out to anyone who needs them in a certain year, and terrariums. These are just a few of the things Peter's done. I don't know if I've covered everything, but it gives you an idea of how enthusiastic and how involved Peter is. So, Peter, you're a real champion, and it's an honor to introduce you.
Great. Thanks a lot, Catherine. And thanks to the GBA for hosting this too. I really have to say this award for South Channel has to go to the members. They're just amazing. There's about 135 members, I think. Huge participation in everything. And if there's any event we do and we're looking for volunteers, there's just always a lot of hands up. So thanks to all the membership. And Catherine's also an active volunteer in a lot of our activities, as are her mom and dad. So thanks to the Danoon family too. I love the Bay like everybody, and I worry about it a lot, its future. And when I think of the challenges, I kind of think on 2 different levels. On the big level, I think of climate change and invasive species, and I feel a little bit flustered and not being able to do much on that. I can do things on a personal level, but it's really going to take international cooperation on a global level to change this. And I think Canada's kind of lagging a little bit behind in what we could be doing. But then at a smaller level, like at a micro level almost, I see things as cottagers that we can do. And, when I go around the Bay, I see shoreline degradation, inadequate septic systems, cottagers altering the landscape with non-native tree and plant species, losing habitat that's specifically needed for plant or animal communities, the increasing boat speeds and traffic. There's just so many boats that go really fast on the Bay now. And there's kind of ineffective enforcement of these infractions, and it's really hard to do. It's such a huge area, the archipelago, and I just don't see enforcement ever really being that successful. And I also think you can't really legislate science or critical thinking, which is what we need to solve a lot of these, but we can provide learning opportunities for cottagers to kind of think that way. And when I think of Phragmites cutting or decommissioning derelict docks, bat and owl box construction workshops, the turtle nest protectors, we build terrariums to give to the kids on a loan system, making those submerged brush bundles for nursery fish. We've done shoreline naturalization workshops. We've tried to engage the membership in citizen science, like iNaturalist and the Lake Partner Program. We've hosted workshops on snakes and turtles. All of these things are great, but I think the most important thing about doing them is it sort of stirs a passion in cottagers and gets them thinking and proud of their property or proud of what they're doing. And I think that's going to be way more effective than trying to do this through bylaws. So that's why I love what the GB4 is doing, you know, the GBA, all the cottage associations we've heard speaking. We're all doing good in the actual activities, but we're also stirring a passion in people to care about the, you know, the diversity of their own property. And I think that's critical. And I see the results, and they really are astounding. Like Phragmites, it's just unbelievable how many associations have that under control. Getting people these turtle nesting boxes, all of a sudden people are looking for turtle nesting areas or digging sites. So those are just little examples. But I just have to put a shout out to the GBA, the GB4 in general. The Township of the Archipelago for the South Channel has just been amazing. They underpin a lot of the stuff we do. They fund really great initiatives. So thank you. Rick Zanuzzi is a counselor for our area and also a member of the South Channel. So thanks to Rick and Terry, and really to all the associations that have been here tonight. I'd just like to say a big thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Congratulations. I'd like to welcome Heather Sargent from Woods Bay Community to introduce Sue McFedrin.
Thanks, Catherine and the committee for this absolutely remarkable event. It's such a pleasure for me to introduce Sue as the Champion of the Bay honoree for Woods Bay. Sue has been a tireless champion for Georgian Bay and our woods community for many, many years. What stands out most to me about not only what she accomplishes, but it's really her energy, her total kindness, her enthusiasm. She has a remarkable ability to rally people around stewardship and action. I really came to know Sue through our work fighting Phragmites in Woods Bay. I'm just thrilled that so many people know about Phragmites now. For those of you that don't, it's that nasty invasive plant that grows into towering impenetrable walls along shorelines. So it's a good thing that we're all fighting it because it crowds out native vegetation, destroys habitat for turtles, frogs, birds, and wildlife, and makes shorelines almost unusable recreationally. So Sue was instrumental in helping reduce Phragmites in Woods Bay and the surrounding area, taking us down from roughly 11 stands down to a couple that are remaining today. I still remember one particularly challenging cut where we were neck deep in water. Sue was always there, determined and encouraging others to join in. Importantly, through her involvement in Friends of the Massasauga, Sue also helped build partnerships between the Massasauga Park, Georgian Bay Forever, Sans Souci, and our community to secure resources and tackle frag on a much larger scale in the park. That effort has been like remarkably and incredibly successful, lasted for years, and helped virtually eradicate many stands within the park. Her contributions didn't stop there. Through the Woods Bay Community Association, she helped turn the idea of an abandoned dock day into reality by working with the Township of the Archipelago to organize disposal efforts. That initiative removed, I can remember probably about 11 deteriorating docks. And why is that important? Well, it's important because of the large amount of exposed, unencapsulated dock foam that was involved in those docks that was breaking apart and like distributing thousands and thousands of fragments along our shorelines. She's been deeply involved in water quality and sampling, water quality sampling as well as shoreline cleanups. I still picture her paddling in with a canoe absolutely packed with foam debris collected from the shoreline. Thanks to Sue, our shorelines are not only more beautiful, but safer for wildlife as well. Last year, Sue led the Fire Smart initiative in our community, securing grant funding and bringing information to our community on practical ways to reduce wildfire risk. She served on our community, on our Woods Bay board for I think more than a decade, as well as on the Georgian Bay Association, Friends of the Massasauga, and likely a lot more organizations that I'm kind of forgetting. Even her home reflects her environmental commitment, like a bigger commitment. She's built a passive house, an internationally recognized high efficiency building standard that dramatically reduces energy use. Personally, I feel so lucky to look across the bay and see Sue's cottage because I know behind it is someone with extraordinary dedication, generosity, and a real love for this place. And I just want to say, on behalf of Woods Bay and Georgian Bay, thank you so much, Sue. This recognition is so well deserved.
Well, I'll tell everybody that Heather is my champion. As you can tell, she's extremely well informed and she's provided a ton of the energy and resources behind many of our initiatives, whether it's been microplastics, dock foam, Phragmites. So I am very, very honored. I don't want to repeat a lot of things. I was actually going through, as Peter was giving his comments, I was going, check, I was going to say that, check, I was going to say that, and I realized I'm the second from the end or third from the end, so I don't want to repeat. But I guess what I take away from this meeting tonight is we have this shared shoreline. We have this remarkable engagement of like-minded people, and some of the parallels and the common interests we have are quite remarkable, not surprising, but then we also have these wonderful organizations that help pull it all together. Georgian Bay Forever, Georgian Bay Association, and of course the Biosphere Reserve. But when I think of all the little organizations that make these contributions, think of the message we're sending out to people who are our neighbors, transient folks. As Heather mentioned, we are embedded in the Massasauga Provincial Park. We love to think that all of the visitors to the park have that same love, commitment, and desire to preserve and enhance. But the more we can demonstrate that, the more that message gets through to everybody else. So I guess I just want to end by saying that it's the small groups like ourselves and the projects that we take on that can remind our members and our neighbors that it's not just the big players that make a big difference in our communities, but it's us. So thank you, Heather, and thank you, GBA.
Thank you, Sue and Heather. Next up, we have Frida Ariella Moskowicz, and she will be introducing Tom Buck, who is the recipient of our very first Community at Large Award.
Okay. Tom Buck is our treasured visionary, nurturing, collaborative, very humble leader of Save Georgian Bay. He is fourth generation, adult children fifth generation, and grandchildren sixth generation on Sunnyside Beach. So don't mess with Tom's Canadian identity. He is our very own Georgian Bay baby. As far back as December 13, 2021, Tom addressed the willing hosts, Mayor and Council of Meaford, with this opening statement. I was standing on my dock with my brother Kevin. My cottage is just over there, and I saw a hawk fly above our bay, and I said to my brother, who would mess with perfection? 7 years of educating, advocating, and protecting Georgian Bay have passed. Tom's dedication is unwavering in a David and Goliath battle, but his steady hand and motto remain. Everyone around the Bay has a say, so please welcome Tom.
Gosh, Frida, wow. Hi, everyone, and thank you to the Georgian Bay Association and to Frida, Pat, and Kathy for this nomination. You three are great friends and teammates in the Save the Bay effort. And to be here tonight in this group with Andy and Doug is very special as they have reached across the bay and joined in our efforts. I appreciate how many of you champions are building or fixing something, sanctuaries, trails, conservation areas, and cleaning up things left behind. I'm in awe. of what you're doing. At the Save Georgian Bay Association, we're trying to stop something. We're fighting instead of building. What are we doing? Well, we fight a massive industrial open loop pump storage project proposed by TC Energy on the contaminated military training base in Meaford. TCE would build a 400-acre reservoir with turbines pumping up and releasing 26 million cubic meters of Georgian Bay water every day. Major transmission corridors crossing from Meaford to Barrie. It affects the whole of Georgian Bay. It damages the escarpment. It'll harm dozens of species at risk, fish habitat and water quality for communities throughout the region. This project will likely touch all of us around the bay, in our water and in our pocketbooks. If you wonder what this is, please go to our website and look at our graphics and reports. It's savegeorgianbay.ca. I find myself inspired by the effort of so many people that are involved with us. Save Georgian Bay has been built entirely by volunteers, retirees, students, engineers, researchers, environmentalists, extraordinary citizens, devoting thousands of hours simply because they love this bay. They're all champions with me in this. We've become accidental experts in geology, environmental law, water quality, fish entrainment, transmission corridors, and public policy. The Georgian Bay Association has been a tremendous ally. Rupert, Andy, Doug, Shannon, Catherine, Meredith, your support, experience, and leadership makes a big difference for us. A huge opportunity from tonight's event. Maybe we can all work together to achieve all our goals. Imagine that. We continue now to submit reports, engage with municipalities, build alliances, educate the public, and push for scrutiny of this proposal every day and everywhere. We're in an intense 3 months right now working to get DND and IAAC to just say no. If you have a moment, please sign our petition at savegeorgianbay.ca. It will help. Thank you for allowing me the commercial. We do this because the spirit of Georgian Bay is in us. Loons laughing at sunrise, clear water, rainbow trout jumping, shorelines, forests, islands, peninsulas, trails, and generations of family memories. This work, like yours, is about making sure future generations inherit a living Georgian Bay, not an industrialized one. I thank you for this honor for our group, and thank you to everyone who stands up for the Bay.
Thank you so much, Tom. Much appreciated. Okay, so this brings us to the final award of the night, and honoring our overall 2025 champion of the Bay, Bruce Davidson from the West Carling Association. I actually was the one who nominated Bruce along with my friend Peter Pook, but I will be introducing Bruce tonight. For more than 80 years, Bruce has demonstrated what true stewardship looks like. Not through grand gestures or public recognition, but through quiet, consistent action and a deep respect for the natural environment. Bruce has cared for the forests, shoreline, and ecosystems of Snug Island with extraordinary dedication, guided by a simple philosophy: protect habitat, avoid unnecessary disturbance, and leave every place better than it was found. His contributions extend far beyond his own shoreline. Bruce served for 25 years on the West Carling Association board, including 10 years as president, helping advance environmental stewardship and responsible planning throughout the region. He advocated successfully for the removal of hazardous waste from the Snug Lighthouse, conducted regular water sampling, supported cleanup initiatives, contributed to species at risk protection efforts, and most recently assisted with invasive Phragmites mapping in Carling Township. Bruce has also generously shared his knowledge through years of thoughtful writing and education, helping others better understand the changing landscape, ecology, and history of Georgian Bay. What makes Bruce especially remarkable is the way he has carried out his work, humbly, practically, and without ever seeking recognition. His steady leadership and hands-on stewardship have left a lasting impact on both the natural environment and the broader Georgian Bay community. Bruce embodies the very spirit of the Champion of the Bay Award, and we are very grateful for his lifelong commitment to protecting the Bay. So please join me in congratulating Bruce Davidson as Georgian Bay's 2025 Champion of the Bay.
Thank you, Allison. I'm technically challenged here. My camera is on, correct?
Yes, you're on. You're good. We can see you.
Oh, okay. Anyway, I had a technical issue here a second ago and I lost my power. But anyway, thank you, Allison, for your very kind words. You are really special, and your household, for that matter, as contributors to the Bay yourself. So thank you very much. There are a couple of aspects of speaking last. One advantage is brevity. People love brevity, and so I'm going to try to be short and not drag it on very long. The disadvantage is I have to follow such great speakers with such great stories. How do I top that act? You can't, so I won't try. What I will do instead is I'd like to talk about how lucky we are and why that is. Let's consider that there are 8.2 billion people on planet Earth right now. That's 8,200 million. 99.5% of those people do not live in Canada. Many of those people live in slums. They've never seen the sun or the sky for the smog. They drink foul water with pestilence. Many people live in deserts. They have to walk miles to draw muddy water from the nearest well. Many people live in the Arctic. They've never known how to swim. They've never seen animals. Many people live in equatorial regions where they deal with dangerous animals and disease and adversity that we have no familiarity with. We in Canada are very fortunate, but we in Georgian Bay are more fortunate still. 99% of Canadians do not live on Georgian Bay, and most of them are not familiar with it. So we happen to be on the largest freshwater archipelago in the world. And I've been here all my life. Now, how lucky is that? So, why is it that we have this fabulous archipelago, which is pretty much unspoiled? 400 years ago, in 1615, Samuel de Champlain paddled upstream on the Ottawa River, upstream on the Mattawa River, across Lake Nipissing, down the French River to the Georgian Bay. He's credited as the first European to view it. He then paddled down to what is now the Trent Severn Waterway, went through that system in the summer of 1615, all in one summer, with his Indians, his Huron band, to fight the Iroquois in New York State. Can you believe it? Returned, wintered near Aurelia, and then went back to France the following year. What he saw was wildlife in abundance, lakes teeming with fish, forests that he had never seen before, and an abundance of wildlife and natural beauty unmatched. That's our legacy. And the reason it wasn't spoiled, we might remember Joni Mitchell talking about paving paradise and putting in a parking lot. The reason it wasn't spoiled is not because we were smarter than anybody else, but there were no roads, there was no communication. The first railway to access the Georgian Bay was in 1855. That's not long ago. So we didn't have a chance to screw it up. And now we still have the beauty of the bay, and we're all charged with it. So why am I a champion? Well, quite frankly, I don't think that I am. You know who is a champion? It's the Georgian Bay Association itself, for the leadership and for the skill sets and for the community that they inspire, and the sister organization, the 17 members of the association put in hundreds of hours, thousands of hours in some cases. In our own organization, West Carling, where I do have familiarity, I happen to know that Allison's mother is a fantastic worker and spends hundreds of hours, as does Allison. And I know every other organization does the same thing. Those people, not we little instruments, those people are the champions of the Bay. Those people that work as directors and presidents and associates, those are the champions of the Bay, and I salute them. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Bruce. That's very kind. Okay, I think we got through it all, Catherine.
Thanks, Allison, and thank you, everyone. We just have a few more details before we wrap up tonight. So all of our champions will also receive in-person recognition, and this is also where you all can help us. We do our best, as we did last year, to come to every association's AGM or AMM and present each champion with a certificate. Also, our summer update has been printed, and I think everyone should be receiving it soon, with probably even more information than you heard tonight on all of our champions. So we really look forward to you receiving that and reading that. And our overall champion, Bruce, will be receiving a sculpture that looks probably very similar to this one, with his name on it. And so we ask you all to please help us in continuing to celebrate these wonderful people in our community this summer and into the future. And my last ask from you all is that we start thinking now about next year's champions and about who you'd like to recognize in your community, because this award wouldn't happen if people didn't take the time to recognize. So please, please, please think of someone this summer that you would like to recognize, and let's help keep this award strong and going forward into the future. You can use a QR code here. We'll have more information or more materials over the summer, but you can simply just Google GBA's Champion of the Bay Award and make a nomination. So with that, I want to turn it over for a final thank you to our Executive Director, Meredith Denning. But thank you all so much for coming. This has been such a special evening.
Thank you, Catherine. Thank you to you and to your whole committee for putting this together, because it's really such an impressive body of work when you get it all in one place like this. It just shines. On a personal note, I'm really looking forward to meeting as many of you as I can this summer and shaking your hands, nominators and champions both. Please do continue to notice the people around you as you have, because the nominators are such a special part of what makes this work. This all makes me really, really excited for the summer to come. So thank you so much.